What's up, guys? This has me, and I'm coming to you with another discussion video. I know it's been a little while since I've actually discussed anything other than my deck building 101 or why I love this card videos, but today I wanted to talk about something that really kind of occurred to me while I was playing around with Cosmos online, just really seeing how they work for myself and trying to see how I prefer to play these guys, etc., etc. Um, and wondering how bad of a matchup or how good of a matchup they have against something like Performages, not specifically Clownblade, but specifically just pure Performages. And I was thinking maybe Performages are actually a pretty good counter to these guys. So if you don't know what Cosmos essentially do, is that Farm Girl is the main core of the deck. It's the thing that just starts off all the plays. As soon as she deals damage to your opponent, it's over. Farm Girl gets out Forerunner, who just keeps gaining life points, um, and it can't be targeted by card effects, so it's very hard to get rid of them in general. And like typically, you would have to rely on things like Dark Hole, Exciton, or Raigeki in order to get rid of Forerunner. Then you have problems like Slip Rider, who can also be summoned out by Forerunner or any of these guys, and he can just pop a back row card, which can be very problematic. And then finally, like Good Witch is okay. It's honestly probably the worst card out of the out of the whole Cosmo archetype, which isn't saying much, to be honest. I mean, the Book of Moon effect is pretty decent. Um, but Cosmo Town here is undoubtedly the best field spell card that we have available to us right now. And the fact that it can reshuffle your hand and also add banished cards back to the hand. So if you don't know how pure Performages work, I invite you to check out my deck profile, which will most likely be updated within the next coming week, mainly because Nodin is coming out in the TCG. But essentially, they block damage and they deal damage to yourself, and just so they can get some random plays off. And what they mainly do, of course, is rank 4 spam. That's the whole point of the deck. Hat Tricker can special summon himself. Trick Clown recycles himself from grave. Damage Juggler blocks damage and can search. And Flame Eater can summon multiple copies of himself, as well as negate effect damage and deal damage of his own. But the real star with the Performages is their Xyz, and that would be when building pure anyway. And that's Trapeze Magician. He can stop any taking any damage. He can stop any damage being dealt to you. That is less than his equal or less than his attack. So it's very, very hard to do to get over him first off, because he's a 2500 beater. And then you have cards like Bubble Barrier and Gaga Shield, which prevent him from being destroyed. And it really makes the deck to force to be reckoned with if you can get Trapeze Magician to stay on the field, because it prevents a lot of damage to you. So I was really thinking about what would happen if a pure Performage deck could went up at you took pure Performages and put them up against Cosmos. How much of a difference would that make? And the key card in this matchup for Performages, at least, is Damage Juggler. Surprisingly enough, this guy is actually one of the biggest problems that I could see Cosmos really having trouble dealing with. Damage Juggler, if you don't know his initial effect, his secondary effect is when he's in the graveyard, you can banish him to search, and that's what mostly people use him for. But during either player's turn, when a card or effect that would inflict damage to you is activated, you can discard this card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. Now, that's great if it's late game and your opponent wants to cowboy you, and you just nope, and just get the next turn. But what's even more significant, especially against Cosmos, is his next effect. During either player's battle phase, you can discard this card, reduce the next battle damage you would take this turn to 0. So, this is pretty significant against Farm Girl. As you know, there are cards such as Honest and Juraghetto, who are used quite frequently in Cosmos, where they boost Farm Girl's attack. In general, the deck is light based, so no matter what, Honest is always going to be live in your hand as long as you have a Cosmo monster out, or even another copy of Honest himself. And then Juraghetto is pretty interesting simply because he can gain life points and and then special summon himself, so he can give another monster a boost. and that boost stays until the next turn. So he can give it, like, if you don't know how it works, Surigado special summons himself during the battle phase. He tribunes himself, gives after giving you life points, and then gives 1,000 attack to Farm Girl, making her a 2,500 beater. Um, Now, if you have something like Performage Trapeze Magician out, this becomes rather difficult for Cosmos to deal with. Yes, it is very, like, it would surprise me to see Cosmos to play something like Dimensional Fissure. However, it wouldn't it would surprise me simply because Ritual Beasts play this card more, and they really essentially don't really need to play this card, because it's so easy for them to cycle around cards. But if you're a Cosmo player, I think that this deck, honestly, like, Performages have the best counter in terms of just their archetype and their archetyping cards to really counter this deck. Dimensional Fissure is at least should be a side card against Performages, and I'm surprised Clownblade isn't as worrisome as a lot of people. Like, a lot of people, I feel like, are taking Clownblade a little lightly, and I think that's a mistake. At least from what I've seen. I don't know, like, with all different all different locals or not, if, like, how popular some cases, but as far as I know, the top 6 decks are the same top, like, 5 of which have been the top 5 for the last few months: Necros, Shaddolls, Burning Abyss, Cleese, and Tellers, and then Cosmos kind of snuck in recently. Cosmos have been a big worry, and just simply because we are pretty much assuming that they're going to get more support. This can't be all that they're getting, especially since they're TCG exclusive, and more than likely they will be getting more support since they are already really, really good. Things like Damage Juggler would just be absolutely ridiculous. And to make matters worse, this deck can actually stall out Cosmos pretty badly. If you look at Secret Village of the Spellcasters, and combine this deck, personally, I would probably not run this too often with Performages, but it is definitely a possible sidecar for Performages, simply because they are a Spellcaster deck. If you don't know what this card does, if you control Spellcaster type monster and your opponent does not, your opponent cannot activate spell cards. If you control no Spellcaster type monsters, you cannot activate spell cards. This is very easy to control, simply because of Trick Clown. Trick Clown is very, very easy to recycle, especially with cards like Trick Box. If you don't know what that card does, Trick Box is a Performage only deck card that when a Performage monster you control is destroyed by battle or by card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target one monster your opponent controls and take control of it until the end phase. Then special summon one Performage monster from your graveyard to your opponent's side of the field, but control of it returns to its owner during the end phase. So this is this card is actually insane. One, it can get you back Trapeze Magician, again, blocking your opponent from really doing a lot of damage to you. But more significantly, it gets your Spellcasters back. And Secret Village of the Spellcasters is just an insane card, and it can really, really help block Cosmo Town. It's if you really think about it, Performages as an archetype are a force to be reckoned with, and played right, they could actually, I think, maybe be about tier 1.5. I don't think that they're quite powerful enough tier 1. I'm sure a lot of people will agree with me on that, but I think they have the potential to be tier 1.5. Tier 2 definitely, I think, but just if they get that new support that's coming out. Let's see here. Flame Mascot. This guy's insane. He can just recycle your cards. One, he's a Pendulum monster, so that's pretty significant. And also, he can special summon one Performage monster from your hand or deck, similarly to how Trapeze Magician works. And then you also have the other one that's coming out, and that's not so well known, actually, which is pretty weird, because this guy is actually pretty ridiculous as well. Once per turn, you can target one face-up special summon monster on the field. Its attack and defense become equal to its attack. Its attack and defense each become equal to its attack or defense, whichever is lower, until the end of this turn. So this can be a good Let's see here. This can be good rebound against cards like Farm Girl after it's been boosted by Juragetto. So just some food for thought, guys. I just think that this is pretty weird how well this deck can actually block Cosmos, especially because we also have Lancia as well. This deck loves hand traps, as can be seen as Damage Juggler. And Artifact Lancia actually does help with that because this card actually deals with this deck's biggest weakness in the fact that Performages hate to be banished unless it's Damage Juggler, in which case he banishes himself. So Artifact Lancia is definitely a great card to at least put one in main, and or just side all three in case you don't know, in case you just go up against something like Burning Abyss where this card becomes like absolutely useless. So yeah, guys, this is just food for thought. Please comment below and just give me your thoughts on this because I think this is a very interesting idea. The fact that Performages have very good counters against this deck, natural counters, unlike other decks which can just simply overpower it. There are just good cards in this that are a big detriment to Cosmos. And so yeah, comment below. Just give me your thoughts on this. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and like if you haven't already. And as always, have a nice day.